Alright. Alright, I think we're ready to roll. Good morning, everybody. One more piece here to drop in the puzzle. There we go. Good morning, good morning. Welcome to morning study. Anybody got a morning study project you're working on? The big thing we got here is a sleepy dog under my desk. Good morning so far. Certainly better than yesterday, to a certain degree. Alright. So we continue sketching this actress expression page. So, anyway, let me know if there's any questions as we get into this. That should be an interesting one. Trying to incorporate some of these with their hand gestures, like these for the ones over there. But, all right. Good morning, good morning. Let's see. Uh-oh. We just lose internet briefly. Let's see. Find out in a second here. Doesn't look like it. Good morning, good morning. Let's see. It's interesting. Just the computer. Everybody else seems okay. Look at that. There it goes. That was weird. Hopefully it didn't break anything. Alright. There we go. All right. Where was I? Just get that nose where it belongs, right? Finger there. Kind of juggling a bunch of different things coming in. All right. Hopefully done with technical issues this morning. I always appreciate those. Interesting to see the hand kind of mold around the face like that. Just kind of watch it bend, be very flexible. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Put that up about an hour. All right. All right, let's see. Yeah, we're getting there. Trying to make sense, right? Ah. So I found some Muji mugs. There's a couple of, I guess, Mujis in New York City. So stopped in there last time I was in town and picked up a couple things. The ones I originally had, I bought when I was living in Hong Kong, and they broke eventually. All right. All right. The side view is kind of boring. This one's a little better. Okay. Good morning. City Actors over there. Alright, let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Happy Saturday, by the way. It is Saturday, right? I feel like half my week disappeared getting sick. So I think it's Saturday. I'm sorry, Wash. All right, let's see. There we go. Any tips for drawing hair? Well, the typical one is to treat things as kind of separate forms. So there's like the larger like helmet of the hair, and then there's different areas that are more kind of like you can see them all grouped together. You can treat those as forms. In some ways, it's kind of similar to what I see some like stylized 3D artists do, where they'll like do a strip of hair is like a solid 3D object, and then um, loop like smaller strands around. But that's the main things I've treated as one large form, like a helmet in this case. Like this little clump right here. Um, and it's kind of like a wave shape. And then break it into smaller pieces. So this area right here, like this area is going to be all blacked out in here, but this area right here in the back, though, it's like a thick ribbon or something. That tends to be the basic approach to that is to treat it that way. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Good morning. Welcome back. Yeah, I got back from my little trip out west seeing family. Excited to get back to work. I started cranking on some drawings and immediately caught whatever summer cold is going around and was like out of it for like 3 days. So, but feeling really good yesterday, so got back into it. But it was even went out into the world and bought groceries, which I hadn't done since before leaving for the trip. So I was running a little low on everything. Oh, you got a puppy, huh? Dogs are great. You know, they're worth having around. They're always happy to see you and absolutely forgiving. Okay, and yesterday with mine, I was out walking and there was like this gourd sitting in this kind of field along the sidewalk, and I was like, "Hey, gosh, check this out!" And I tossed it kind of in his general direction, you know, just thinking it would like land in front of him or something, and he jumped right at it, and hit him right in the face. Oh wow, a 9-week-old. Okay, is it potty? Is he potty trained yet? That is a little puppy. 9 weeks old, huh? So mine was a rescue. I think he was less than a year old. Oh yeah. Yeah, I ran into that with that Illinois puppy I found on the street. You know, I was just in the house for a couple hours, and she was just like peeing all over the place. It was really bad. Well, you know, the thing with most mammals, and that's weird about humans, is is we're kind of born early. So based off of our size and for the gestation period for mammals our size, we should be in the womb for like 18 months. We're basically born like 9 months early. So most animals, when they come out of the womb, like you look at a giraffe being born, right? Within minutes of it being born, it's walking. And you know, it takes humans like what 18 months or so to get to that point. But yeah, so it's like there's a couple things with mammals. Like one is the number of nipples. So like half the number of nipples is the typical number of animals born at that birth. So if an animal has like 8 nipples or 10 nipples or whatever, half of that's the number of their litter usually. And then our gestation period is half of what it should be. But you might like this. I got this in the mail a couple days ago. So Kickstarter got fulfilled from last year. Kenneth Rocafort's Groken. Came with, I got the first 3 issues. So he was just hit Kickstarter for issue 3. And that's where I'm at right now in this. There's some cool dragons here at the beginning. It's a castle built like a candle. It's pretty wild. I guess he's starting a new Kickstarter soon that'll be for issue 4. So, or Kickstarter Indiegogo or whatever it is. I forget which one. But, where did the dragon stuff go that I saw? Here's a pretty cool little castle. The dragons. There's a cool dragon. Some little dragons in there. So, so that came in the mail. It came with like a sticker and some cards and things like that. You could get some original art, like little sticker of one of the characters. And then that's issue 1. I haven't gotten into the other ones just yet. No hurry, right? Because they come out like once a year, I guess. He does a campaign every year, and so it came with this is issue 2, right there. So I haven't gotten into yet, and then here's issue 3. And Kenneth Rocafort, he was I want to say like 2nd gen or 3rd gen image guy. He did some stuff for like Cyber Force. And then it came with his little, you could get this little sketchbook with it too. So, the writing's a little weird in it because I think his English isn't his native language. I think he's from Puerto Rico. And so sometimes like the writing itself, like the sentences are a little clunky so far. But the story seems like, it's interesting. Of course, the art is, Kenneth Rocafort. These are mixed media, like watercolor and pencil and things like that in here. And this little sketchbook. So that came in the mail just as I came back. Actually, I came back just in time for a couple of things. There was that one, and then the first of these arrived. So oversized hardcover slipcase bone. And I guess he did his Thorn series, which was like a comic strip he did in college or something, and then he's been putting out this, just started putting out, I think last year or earlier this year is when this got announced. Basically, it's like a larger format hardcover of the Bone series. There's going to be 4 of these hardcovers. And I've got his, let me see if I can find the page, but I've got the soft cover that contains all of the series. But I always love this snowfall scene. So it's like winter's coming, and then it just falls down in one giant chunk. Which I thought was probably one of my other favorite little memorable scenes in there. And then if I can find it, there's a whole scene where Thorn and Bone are being chased by the rat creatures in the forest, if I can find it. And there's just this there's stuff like this, which is really great right here. The rat creatures. One of her dream sequences, you can tell from the black panels. So here we go. Yeah, but this whole set of scenes right here where they're running in the forest. Just, really great rhythm in here. She's turning around, grabbing him, pulling him up, they're hiding. I always love the scene right too, like, oh, there's a rat creature right behind the tree. So she picks him up and shoves him into his face. Which I always thought was great scene. But yeah, but this shot right here is always just like incredible. Let me pull that up higher. There we go. But there's a cover for that too. I'm not sure if it's in here or not. But yeah, if you haven't read Bone, you can get like the whole thing in like a black and white soft cover. I think when I bought it, it wasn't very expensive. There's a colorized version now, but and in the back there's like some interviews and history about Bone, kind of his background creating it. Because he spent a long time kind of making this happen, and now it's really taken off for him. You know, the young adult kind of reading movement that's out there for comics, and libraries and things like that has really kind of glommed on to Jeff Smith's Bone. And then he's done 2 Kickstarters recently, one for Thorn and one for that. And they've both done really, really well. So he's kind of one of those people that looks like an overnight success, but I mean, he was doing that like before even I bought my first comic. Like he was working on Bone and putting it out there, and it's really impressive to watch it finally really take off. I mean, they tried to make movies with it before, and it's never worked out for an animation. I think people try to change the story too much, but the story is it's about these 3 Bone cousins. So the kind of the cartoony-looking guy with the big nose. He's got 2 cousins, Phony Bone and Smiley Bone, and his name's Phone Bone. They were characters he created as a kid, kind of imaginary friend type characters. And anyway, they get chased out of their hometown and they wander in the desert for a while. They get chased out because of something their cousin Phony Bone did. And they bump into this grandma and her daughter. And they discover there's a whole set of secrets going on. There's dragons and these rat creatures and wizards and ancient gods and a fallen kingdom, and they end up, participating in all of the events that kind of follow up from that. Sometimes, some certain degree, they're making them happen. Like Phony Bone, he's known for doing scams, and so he's always kind of getting them in trouble because he's always running some scam that they have to try to help him get out of because, they're family. So, yeah, I always recommend it. It's really beautiful drawing and really wonderful storytelling. It's definitely not like your typical kind of cinematic comic. It's much more of a like comic strip style comic book. So like if you think like a comic strip like Calvin and Hobbes or Peanuts or something like that, where kind of a lot of the panels are kind of similar with little changes in them. It's kind of more his style rather than like big cinematic action scenes like with the Kenneth Rocafort stuff. But there's a lot of humor and other things going on in there, along with the adventure and excitement of the story. It's always been a favorite. Yeah, because I mean that's how he got his start. If you look at his the Thorn book he did before doing Bone, like it's a comic strip. And I think he was trying to push it out that way originally. So if you look at like comic strips when he was getting started, those were really popular in newspapers. You look at Calvin and Hobbes and Garfield and Far Side and all of that. There were venture comics too, like Prince Valiant was in the paper daily, or especially the Sunday papers. So it wasn't just like humor comics like Foxtrot and I don't know, Pebbles, some of the other ones that were out there. Doonesbury, but there was kind of a boom in the comic strip thing as a result of the stuff that Bill Watterson did with Calvin and Hobbes. So because he kind of um, forced newspapers to allow things to be formatted differently because he wanted to do these kind of crazy compositions, and newspapers had like this very specific format they wanted them all to use. So, certain kinds of panel sizes and so it was a really kind of big time in the late 80s, early 90s for comics. I think that's when he would have started doing his Bone thing. The So yeah, always been a big fan of Bone. I'm rereading it again in that paperback format. But if you just want to just read the story, like the paperback stuff is a good way to go. And they did actually make a color version if you want that. I prefer black and white, but you can get it in full color. It's like I wish they would release all the Hellboy stuff in black and white, especially the Mignola stuff. But they haven't, so I want it. Yeah, but I was excited those two Kickstarters were there. One of them came actually while I was gone. Luckily, my my sister must have been here either the same day it arrived, or like the day after. She brought it in. She was checking on my plants, and my nieces were excited to come over and investigate their uncle's house, see what's going on. A strange place where he lives. All that mystery. And he wasn't there, so they could look around and be sneaky and all that good stuff. Break a Lego. But yeah, I was excited about seeing those come in the mail, and looking forward to checking all those out. Now again, if you're interested in Kenneth Rocafort, there, Trout House, he'll be launching the next crowdfunder soon. I think it's Indiegogo. If you go check his socials, there's like a sign up link or something. He's not really that great at kind of promoting himself, but like his Kickstarter did really well. Like if you were a little bit better promoter, it probably would do twice as well. Oh wow. I've never really read Cerebus. I remember he showed up in that Spawn issue once. I think that was the first issue of Spawn I read. And I was like, 14 years old, 15 years old, something like that. I'm like, this is so meta. And now I kind of think meta stuff is mostly kind of silly, but it was like, it's a comic book about comics. There's like this weird little guy walking him through. Um, and then last night, if you go check my social stuff, I started working on that comic finally. I printed it out and working on the pencil. Started that last night. So we'll see how that goes. I've been doing some inking tests, and I did actually a pretty terrifying drawing. That's kind of a climax to that story. Started thinking ahead on that tree hopper story, and suddenly had a whole little narrative in there. And but yeah, because I had those kind of roughs I did a while ago, and then I was thinking about the story while I was at home a bit. I even brought him with me, and I kept looking at him like, well, So, but I think it'll be a nice way to kind of stretch my legs. It's a simpler story. There's, at least initially, there's fewer characters. There's only the one character going in initially, so there'll be more, and then it'll help me kind of. I'm going to leave that open so I could. All right, let's get the white ink on here, and then we'll be done for the morning. Probably be back on later today. I've got a lot I want to do. Kind of took care of my major chores yesterday with the shopping. I also learned on my trip that bugs can overheat your car. I was driving out west. Once I kind of got into Colorado, I noticed that my car was overheating kind of over a certain speed, and it was making me really nervous. And I was like, "That's really weird. Like, what is going on here?" And I'd just driven through Missouri and Kansas, and it didn't happen. And after I got to Utah, I got my car washed and was driving around. Did some hiking in the desert with my sister. Took her out there. And I had no problems. And then, even got an oil change while I was out there since I'd gone so far. And then on the drive home, wasn't doing it. And then I got into West Virginia, coming back in. Suddenly my car started overheating. I'm like, what is going on? It's like some kind of mechanical problem. And then I remember that, radiator, driving through Kansas and Missouri, bugs, a lot of bugs. And I looked at my grill and it was just caked in the dead. A wholesale slaughter of a genocide of insects that collided into my car. I remember driving westward, and when I was at nighttime, sometimes they would actually get into the cars. Like they'd survive me driving through them, and then they would crawl in through the heat shield because I have some holes plugged in to let some wires in. I don't really drive all that much here either, because again, I walk to work, which I don't have to do right now because we're on summer break. But um, so yeah, yeah, that was it. Stopped at a rest stop, and there was a hookup for a hose, and was able to add. I keep a small hose in my car, because the whole camper thing. And so hosed it down and had no more problems once it dried off. So lesson learned. If you start, I was worried it was like maybe the thermostat or the fan clutch or something. Made me really nervous. And then yeah, it was funny when I lived in New York. I brought my car with me, which is the same kind of car I have now, just the one I had before I moved to Hong Kong. Um, and actually, one of my students in here from Hong Kong. But when I was in New York, I brought my Xterra with me, thinking I would use it, and I didn't use it for like the entire school year. I was so busy at school, I didn't even like I had it parked in a lot up north. It was like $20 a month or $30 a month or whatever up in the north part of town, and I used it so little that the battery died. And I didn't realize that could happen. It's one of the things you learn, as you're going through cars. Like I had a friend, he's a Russian guy living in, I think, Dubai or Abu Dhabi at the time, and he bought a Jeep, and it was just endless frustration for him. This Jeep kept breaking down. Like, that's the joy of having a Jeep. You put ducts on your windshield, and then your car breaks down all the time. He didn't seem to understand why that was a thing. But he discovered the importance of not leaving your lights on. He's like, but it's just LED lights. They shouldn't use any electricity. I'm like, after a while, they do. At some point, people kill batteries for a number of different reasons. Like mine, it's pretty rare because most people use their cars. I just didn't use it for like 9 months. So I got someone to jump it before you had like those little portable power packs, and then drove it to a car shop and picked up a new battery. But it was just like and then I moved it down to where I was living. Just parked it on the street, would move it, every couple of days. So, lesson learned. But it's been 1 hour. I'll clean up. I'll be probably back to today working on the pencils. Maybe I'll grab that and show what I did yesterday. It is the 28th, huh? I only skipped one day of the morning study coming back, though, so... well, it didn't end up being actually a morning study. It was like in the afternoon. But I slept through the whole morning. Whatever that cold was, it hit me like a truck. Let's see, where's that page? Oops, sorry, Bosh. Yeah, printed these out. I think I'm doing too much detail on his face, so I need to soften that back. But printed out these pages, so I had to make my own layout here. I couldn't find like really good layouts that were automatically like you could drop into Photoshop or whatever. And so I took the time to make my own, to get the measurements on here and mark it off and clean it up and all of that. I was really kind of annoyed by that. I was like looking all over the internet. Like, well, there's like these ones that kind of describe how the measurements are supposed to be, but you think someone would just have like a downloadable one set to the correct size, with all the markings on it, and that was not the case. And I was thought that was crazy. Like, why isn't there just like a template that I can download and put in there? I found one was like a scan. They're all the wrong sizes too, so you had to like resize them up, which made them less accurate. And did find like a scan of an image one from Image Comics, but big double splash page over here. But so anyway, that's it for the morning study. Thanks to everybody that came in, and we'll talk to you later.